Hello, my name is Kelly Bluen. I am a certified Zentangle teacher. Welcome to my Florals series. In these videos, I'm going to show you how to make so many beautiful and fun floral type tangle patterns. So this is video number 1, and so I want to go through a couple of things before I get started. The rest of the videos will kind of jump right into the drawing, but this one I just want to explain a few things and kind of get us started off correctly. So I have some pieces from a May kit that I used to have available and is now sold out. So if you see like this little book that I'm working from, it is just because I had a little kit, but this is just a sketchbook. So any sketchbook that you have will work. I also am using a 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch Zentangle brand tile. If you do not have tiles, you can get them on zentangle.com, or you can just cut out squares to work in, or just do all of this in a sketchbook. I'm also using my Micron pen, a pencil, and a blending tool. I do have a little eraser, even though there are no mistakes in Zentangle. There are mistakes in my own drawing. Not really. I try to make every mistake turn into something amazing, but sometimes you want to sketch some things and then erase them. So I do have my eraser, and I have this cute little Zentangle bookmark, which is also available on zentangle.com. And we're going to be using this as a ruler as we go throughout this little series. Okay, so each video will begin in my sketchbook. I will show you the tangle of the day, and then I will be putting it on this tile. At the end of the series, we will have 12 of these tiles filled in, and we will tape them all together and have a beautiful accordion book. And it's going to be one long flower garden. Okay? All right, so let's begin by prepping our tile. Then I'll show you how to draw the pattern, and then we'll put it back on the tile. All right, so this is my tile. So I'm going to just go right to the front of it, and I'm going to use this as a ruler, even though it also makes a fantastic bookmark. So I'm going to grab my pencil, and what I want to show you is that throughout this series, we are going to be adding these tiles together to make this beautiful garden. But I would like there to be some grass on the bottom, and I would like there to be a line across the top that's going to act as a frame and also act as a place that we can hang down some pretty little vines and embellishments. Because this is our first tile, I also want there to be a line on the side. So mine in the end will look like one big framed in piece. Okay? So to do that, I'm going to take my bookmark, I'm going to put it right at the top of my tile. And I want to make a little marking, and I want it to be wider than the width of my pencil. So I want it to be right about here. So it's about 1.5 of those. I want to give myself enough room to be able to play. And then I'm going to put a little dot right there on my tile. I'm going to put a dot on this side, and I'm going to connect those. I'm going to let my right hand side go all the way across my paper. Then I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to put a dot there and one down here somewhere, and I'm going to connect them this way. Same thing across the bottom. I'm going to use this. I'm going to put it right at the bottom like that. I'm going to put a dot on this side and a dot on this side and connect them. Okay, so now I have this partial frame, and I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to erase the parts that overlap in the corners because I don't need those. And then I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to trace, and it's okay if it's a little bit wiggly. You can use your ruler again, but I'm just going to do mine by hand, and I'm going to let it go all the way that way, down, and over. So tomorrow when we do, well, tomorrow number 2 will be on this one, but number 3, we will do the same thing. We'll just go straight across here and straight across here, and that will continue our garden. Okay, so we have that done. That's the hardest part, you guys. All right, I'm going to grab my little sketchbook, and I made this little sketchbook just as a fun place to keep florals. So I'm going to do 24, I think it's 24, 23 or 24 floral patterns, and I'm going to put them all in this sketchbook. If you would rather do like we've done in some other challenges, you can put them on these little bijou tiles and punch a hole in the corner and have a nice little ring. Let's see, here's one for our Share the Love. And we had another one. This was our fragments. So if you would rather do that, you can put them on bijou tiles and have a little collection. But I like having this cute little book. I also encourage you to find florals that you like and add them to your book as you go along. I'm going to skip the first page because I like to go back and write a little journal entry in there about the month. So I'm going to skip the first page. Okay, on this page at the top, I'm going to write the word embellishments, because I will be teaching you different tangles, but I'm also going to be teaching you fun little things to add to our gardens. And as we do that, we will add them to this page just as kind of a reminder and a reference that you can go back to find fun little things to add. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next page. And this is going to be day number 1. I'm going to label mine as day number 1, but you don't have to. And today I'm going to show you 2 tangles. So one is Boulder Builder. And this is just my practice book. So this does not have to be neat and fancy. Boulder Builder is by Bunny Wright, SCZT. And I'm going to put a little star next to it just so that if I flip through my book, I know that all the things with a star are tangle patterns. And then down here, I'm going to do Veruca. And that is by Veronica. And I'm not going to say her last name because I will probably mispronounce it. She is also a CZT. Okay, so most days I will be showing you one floral pattern, but today we're doing an extra Boulder Builder because we're going to put this one throughout our tile on different occasions. So we're going to do some of that today and then some of our flower. This will probably be the longest video of the series. After this, I hope to keep them to about 15 minutes, but this one has so much information that I just want to pass along to you before we begin. Okay, so Boulder Builder, this is one that I have done in a 15 minutes of Zen video, so you're welcome to go back and peek at it. But it is a beautiful pattern where you just put these rectangular blocks together, almost like a puzzle, and it makes a beautiful wall or a beautiful walkway. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to make kind of a tall one to start, and I'm rounding the edges just a little bit. And then I'm going to draw one about half the size, but I'm going to go sideways. So I guess it'll be the same size, just halfway up. And then let's do another one right here. I'm going to make it go, again, about the same size. So it's going to go beyond the top of that. And then we go back and we ink in these little corners and just kind of make sure they're rounded out. So a little ink down in that one. And then I like to add in like a little crack every once in a while, just because a lot of times old boulders in gardens tend to get cracked. And I do that really lightly with my pen. Okay, so that's Boulder Builder. And I think that would be a fun thing to add throughout our garden. If you don't love this and you don't want it in your garden, that's okay. You don't have to add it. Okay, the next one is Veruca. So Veruca begins with a stem, nice and thin, nice and narrow. And then we make an oval shape that I'm going to begin down here a little ways. And it's going to curl up, touch the top, and come down. And then we ink that in nice and dark. And then we add an aura. So an aura is a line that goes beside another line. So there's our aura. And then right at the top, lined up with that little stem that we made, we're going to put in a shape, a little petal that's narrow at the bottom and gets a little bit wider at the top. And it's nice and thin and tall. Then I'm going to go to the right and I'm going to go down a little bit from that petal. And I'm going to jump out and come down. Then I'm going to go out and come down, out and come down. And I'm going a little bit lower each time and making those petals a little bit smaller. Then I'm going to go to the left and do that same thing. All right, that is Veruca. Isn't it beautiful? So when I show you these and when these artists, deconstruct or make these beautiful patterns, you are allowed to play with them and change them up. So one of the variations that she has is that the petals are a little more square or flat on top, and then they come down like that. So maybe we'll put that variation in today as well. Okay, so feel free to play around and have fun with it. All right, so we have our 2 patterns for the day. I'm going to scoot that over. And now comes the exciting part. And I know a lot of you are so nervous about using your tiles and putting things on here. It feels too permanent. And what if you make a mistake? So you can always start in pencil and then go back and ink over it if you're more comfortable. Also, if you bought the kit, you have 3 extra tiles. So if you don't like what you made and you want to start over, you can. You can also order more of these on Zentangle.com and have a whole bunch of them lying around. Okay? All right, I am going to begin with pencil for my Boulder Builder. And since this is the corner, the edge of my garden, I think it'd be so fun to have this little garden wall kind of broken here, and then our flowers are going to grow from there. So I'm going to begin with a flat one. So I'm just penciling in this rectangle, and I want the rectangle maybe to be about 2 widths of my pinky finger. And then I'm going to put one on top of there that is again about 2 widths. So I'm going to go about halfway from this one and go up. And it does not matter if these are different sizes, they are just boulders. It's not that important that they match or be the same size. Okay, I'm going to do another one down here that's long. And I'm going to do one up here. That's going to end about halfway onto that one. And that's all I'm going to do. So I'm just going to put a few in here, and our flowers are going to grow out from behind it and alongside it. Okay, now I'm going to pick up my pen and I'm going to ink those in. I'm going to round those corners as I go. Again, the size doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to ink in these little areas that are left over. And then one fun little added detail is that we can retrace the outer edges, and as we trace them, we can dip down just a little bit into the boulder. Look at that tiny bit of texture and detail that is added when we sort of wiggle that line. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And perhaps that is moss growing, or maybe it's little chips in the rock. But look at that little bit of detail, how much that adds. All around the edge of each one, thickening it, adding some little tiny divots. And then if you'd like to go in and add a couple of little cracks, you can. Okay, my boulder builder is done. And now we get to add Veruca. So just a quick little thing. In doing research for this, many of you have been tangling for a long time and you've come across many beautiful floral or botanical tangles that you love. If you have any that are your favorites and you would love to see me do, please feel free to comment below or message me on Facebook at Let's Tangle. I have probably 100 or 150 possibilities to use in these, and I'm only picking 24. And I'm trying to pick some that are unique or different or have different elements to them to help us grow as tanglers. So anyway, send me your favorites if you have any suggestions. Okay, so Veruca, let's pop this one in. If you want to start with a pencil just to kind of get your layout. So each video is going to be half of a tile. So today we're putting in Veruca. Tomorrow will be a different flower. And my thought is that the second flower can kind of go on this side, but we could also maybe pop one in back here, or they could crisscross. So we want to do 2 or 3 Verucas and then leave room for the next one. So I'm going to have one up here in this space. So I'm going to have my stem come down like that. So I'm just going to kind of add a light circle here just so I sort of know where that space is going to be. And then I would like one right here. So I'm going to put one that way. And I might just do 2 today, and then I can always add more later if we need to fill our tile. Okay, so do not trace the circle. That's just a guide as to where we want it. But I'm going to trace my stems. So those are ready to go. All right, so Veruca, it starts with that oval shape that comes down, up, and down and around. And then we ink it in. It's up to you how large or small you want to make that. You want to think about filling up this space, so don't make it too tiny. And then we can add an aura. All right, now I'm going to put in that first petal, and again, I want to think about taking up my space. This is the largest petal I'm going to make, so if I make it really short, there's going to be a lot of leftover area. So I'm going to make this kind of tall. And remember, it's wider on the top and narrower on the bottom. Then I'm going to go off to the side. I'm going to bump out and down, out and down. And you can do this as far as you want. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, out and down, out and down. What a great first floral. Okay, I'm going to go to the one over here now. And if you realize that maybe it's too short and you want to up more, you can extend your stem up a little bit if you'd like. And then we add in that oval and ink it in. We put that aura around it. And then I'm going to go ahead and do that flat topped one. If you want to continue with the round one, please do. It doesn't matter. All right, so I'm going to go up pretty high, give that little flat top and come down. Go off to the side and down. You decide how many you want to put on. One of her variations, she actually continues all around the back. I love it. Okay, now we can just embellish it a little bit. So on this one that has the flat top, I'm going to put in a line and a dot, line and a dot. I'll be doing this probably on a lot of florals. I just like how it fills in that area and gives it a little more texture. On this one here, I'm going to do a flick in each petal. So I'm just pushing down and then lifting up, making a cute little flick. Gives a little bit of texture without it being too specific. All right, we are going to add leaves to some of these flowers, and if there's not a leaf in the pattern, then I like to just use what the petals look like. So this one has that square type top, so I'm going to imagine my leaf coming from down here somewhere behind that boulder and just coming up like that. I'm going to give it that same little line and dot. Then I'm going to do one up this way as well. On this one, I'm going to use that petal pattern and I'm going to let it tip in right behind that boulder. And I'll do one this way that tucks in behind those petals. So another thing I want to mention in this really long video is that Zentangle method is a method of drawing repeated patterns to relax. What I am doing in this May floral thing is taking patterns, some will be Zentangle, but Zentangle does mostly non-representational. You know, it's proven that it's not as calming to try to create a flower that looks exactly like mine or looks exactly like a petunia or a rose. It's more calm to make non-representational patterns and repeat them. So Zentangle Company does not have a lot of florals. They do more of the relaxing pattern making. So other artists are the ones that have done a lot of these flowers. And in a typical tile, you would not draw a garden with flowers. A typical tile, you would have your string and you'd be filling in spaces with repeatable things. So this is more of a Zentangle inspired art, which is called Zia. So if you see the word Zia, Z-I-A, it is Zentangle inspired, but doesn't really use the Zentangle method. Okay, that being said, we have created our first half of our first tile, and tomorrow we will add the second floral, and then we will embellish some of the outside areas, maybe add a little bit of grass, and we'll do some shading. Okay, well, we'll shade these today. Let's shade these today, and then tomorrow we will finish it up. If you're worried about smearing tomorrow when you draw, then you can wait and shade this tomorrow. So on these boulders, it's kind of fun to put a little smaller rectangle on the inside of each one. This is just a way that I've seen it done, and I like it, so I'm going with that. We take our little blending tool and we soften those and sort of pull them in towards the center of each brick or each block. Very, very lightly. Do not need a lot of graphite for these. And that just sort of gives each block this look that maybe part of it is sticking out towards us, and then there's some light hitting these outer edges. I may have done that backwards. Maybe the dark is supposed to be on the outside, and then that inside is light. I may have done it backwards. See, tile number 1, I'm already teaching you the wrong way. Look up shading for boulders and do what you would like. But I kind of like that difference in light and dark areas. So I'm going to leave mine. Okay, then I'm going to take these little flowers and I'm going to go on the outside edge of that aura on both of them. And then I'll be gently pushing that up and out away from the center up into those petals. So pretty. And then this is a really small detail, but taking each petal and giving it a shadow where it goes over another one. So this petal goes over the one next to it. So I'm going to give it a little bit of graphite on that one, and that one, and that one. And it's very subtle, but when I push that then away from that line and into that next petal, it gives the slightest little shadow as if those are tucked under each other and stacked. Isn't that pretty? Same thing over here on that left side where the petal goes over another one. Give it that little shadow. On this one right here, same thing. I'm going on that right side of each and the left side of each of these because the shadow is going to be on the petal behind it. So cute. And then on the leaves, I'm going to add some graphite at the bottom edge of each leaf where they kind of tuck in by the stem. And I'm going to push it up into the leaf a little bit. The last little bit of shading I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blending tool that already has some graphite on it, and I'm going to just put a tiny bit at the top of the stem, like there's a little shadow as it tucks in underneath that flower. We did it. We did it. Day number 1 of our florals. I hope that you loved it. On the back, I wrote number 1. I wrote Veruca and Boulder Builder. I wrote the artist that made them. I will add the date, and then tomorrow I will do number 2. So I love it so far. I'm so excited to see how these all blend together. And thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. And I hope you have a wonderful month. Thank you. Bye bye.